Hello, and welcome to the BCN and Friends podcast, where we have real conversations about learning, leadership, and the lived experiences of nurses and healthcare professionals across the emergency spectrum. Each episode, we sit down with thought leaders, BCN certification holders, and industry experts who share their stories, their insights, and the challenges that shape their work. Our mission is simple: to amplify the voices of those making a difference every day, because your experiences drive progress, inspire others, and shape the future of nursing. We're here to honor that in every episode. Sometimes funny, sometimes serious, and always valuable. This is BCN and Friends, and we're so glad you're here.
In this episode, we're joined by Solomiya Veturys, BCEN's 2026 Distinguished CPEN, for an inspiring conversation about leadership, mentorship, certification, and the lasting impact of investing in others. Drawing from her experiences in pediatric trauma care, quality improvement, and certification advocacy, Solomiya shares how pursuing excellence is about more than personal achievement. It's about creating opportunities, elevating teams, and building a legacy that extends far beyond ourselves. Through stories of influence, perseverance, and purpose, she reminds us that the most meaningful journeys are the ones that help others cross the finish line too. This episode is titled, Running a Race Bigger Than Yourself.
I'm Holly Briggs, a professional development specialist at BCEN and one of your hosts for today. I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Dexter, our director of professional development. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Holly.
It's great to have you with us. This episode dives into the journey of a nurse leader, Solomiya Veturys, who has seamlessly navigated adult and pediatric emergency care while leading in trauma research, quality, and certification. Her story highlights how passion for excellence and a commitment to certification can transform both patient outcomes and professional growth. Michael, could you please introduce us to our BCN friend, Solomiya?
Yeah, absolutely. With more than 18 years in nursing, Solomiya Veturys has built a dynamic career spanning adult and pediatric emergency care. Her leadership experience ranges from charge nurse to associate nurse manager. She now serves as the trauma program PI and research coordinator at Nemours Children's Hospital. Solomiya recently completed her MSN in May of 2026. Dedicated to advancing quality and certification, she leads her hospital's quality council, champions certification efforts, and was honored as BCEN's 2026 Distinguished CPEN. Solomiya, welcome to the BCN and Friends podcast. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We want to obviously get to know more about you, but if you could start out with why did you become a nurse in the first place? Maybe tell us about that, and then a little bit about how your career has spanned both adult and pediatric. So you can tell us a little bit more about how that is different than some of the areas you've worked in terms of just the flow, the care of patients, and those things. We'd love to know more about that as well.
So I am the only person in my family that became a nurse, went into any sort of medical profession. I was actually born in Ukraine, came here, my family moved here when I was 4, almost 5. And I just always enjoyed helping people and caring for people. And I just knew that that was the path that would be for me. And during nursing school, I was a tech and didn't know kind of which direction, what kind of nurse I wanted to become when I got done. And I got pulled into the ER one day and instantly knew that was the place for me. So I did that. I worked in the ER for a little bit for, well, my entire career, but I did adult care for about 12 years and then transitioned to pediatrics, I guess about 8 years ago. And have not looked back since. Really, when I started working in pediatrics and started working for Nemours, I just saw what a difference there was in being supported by leadership every day to go above and beyond. So it was the expectation that we did anything and everything for our patients and families to make them comfortable, whether it was getting them a toy or something to eat or a cup of coffee. And that was the culture of the organization. And that just really filled my cup. I really enjoyed being supported to do that because sometimes it's those little things that go beyond getting the IV in and getting the antibiotics or, getting the pain medicine. And so this was a place that I really just enjoyed growing and personally, professionally.
Well, that's awesome to hear the support. I was literally just this morning talking to a nurse manager director about cultures of hospitals, and he was asking about different ones I've seen around the country, and it is such a huge difference to be in a facility where you feel supported and when you feel empowered and those aspects as well. And how have you then taken some of those aspects of pediatric care? For example, pediatric code comes in. There's the family to support as well. There's obviously the critical nature of the injury. But how would that look to you in a facility where you do feel empowered and when you do feel supported now versus maybe in a previous role or at some other hospital that you may not have even worked at, but have just heard like there's just a totally different atmosphere, a totally different culture. How do you feel about some of those aspects of it as well?
It changes your perspective when you're caring for that patient because you're caring for the patient and the family as a whole, right? You're not just caring for the child, you're also caring for the parents who this is most likely the worst day of their life. And so oftentimes, even as a charge nurse, if there was something that was horrific that was happening, we would get check-ins from leadership to say, is there additional resources that you need in order to be able to truly care for the patient and the family as a whole? Is there anybody we can reach out to if it was, and that was really any time of day or night. So there was always some sort of support to make sure that we were able to do what we needed to do to make sure that patient and family were taken care of appropriately. There were times when we would have, like you had said, a code and siblings, parents show up with siblings, they don't have childcare. Well, so we were able to utilize different resources to take care of those siblings. And so it's just having that dynamic culture of never feeling alone. And so, as I transitioned into a leadership role, I wanted to continue to provide that for our frontline teams. I wanted to make sure that that culture was carried on, even though some of the frontline team members had changed. I wanted to make sure that our patients and families were still getting the same care despite the change in who those, team members were.
You spoke to the organization impacts the care that's given in a positive way and in a negative way sometimes. And I don't necessarily think that it's because the nurse themselves is like, I just don't want to treat this patient well. I don't think nurses come to the bedside with this idea that, like, I'm not going to get good care to this patient and family. I think a lot of times they feel that their hands are tied or that they don't have the knowledge or the resources to offer maybe that additional individualized care. And that is the barrier that organizations and leaders can overcome. Like you said, you wanted to make sure that no matter if you just hire a new nurse to your hospital or, someone who's been there for a long time, you want to make sure that both of them understand that, like, hey, if you see something that could help this situation and make this family or make this patient more comfortable, like, we want to empower you to feel like you can do that. And we want to make sure like, hey, we already have X, Y, and Z available. There would be times in different places that I've worked in different organizations and nurses that I'm friends with, where it's like you knew what you needed was like a meal for a family. And in some organizations, like getting a meal, no problem at all. Call the cafeteria, they are coming up. And then in others, you're like scraping together like what's in the back of a fridge. I mean, there would be times when I'd be so embarrassed, but I'm like, I want to do the right thing. And so I really applaud leaders and organizations that actually put tools in the hands of their staff to do that. I had the privilege of coming and seeing you at your facility, which if you ever can get out to Nemours Children's in Delaware, if you ever find yourself in Wilmington, you should probably just drive around that place. It is beautiful. And it's also, you could just kind of feel the camaraderie and also how excited people were to be working there and to be celebrating you and your accomplishment, and that it was recognition of the work that people are doing. That entire day that we were able to be there, I was like, this would be a really cool place to work. Not that I'm, planning to jump back into pediatric care today, but I also was just really impressed with not only your accolades, we could go on about that, but just the support I saw from your leaders as well. I think they created an atmosphere for her to succeed. This doesn't seem like something they just do for one person. I feel like they do it for probably more than one. So that's pretty cool. So all that to say, I've got to ask you this question because you serve on the quality council, which if you've ever served on a council at a hospital, you know it can be quite an interesting meetings slash projects. Like you sometimes, especially when you're on the quality, sometimes you're responding to changes in protocols, changes in evidence-based practice. Sometimes you're responding to problems or issues or patient outcomes. So, it can kind of go either way. I think sometimes you just never know. But so the trauma program, the PI and the research, right? And then you're chairing the quality council. I guess all in all, like how have you seen this certification aspect? Because you do champion certification. How have you seen that influence quality improvement? Or do you see a correlation between them?
Absolutely, I do. I think that once we saw a rise in our certification levels and numbers, we actually saw a difference in our quality improvement projects. We saw a difference in the escalations that we got, for trends or safety or just things that people are noticing in their day-to-day care because they're picking up on things that they may not have previously picked up on because they didn't have that preparation and those expertise that they get with certification. I've had people say, in our simulations, in our trauma simulations, I learned that while I was prepping for my CPEN exam. And I'm like, yes, yes, you did. And so I understand. I was there. Test taking nerves are real. And I think that's one of the biggest things that keeps people from accomplishing what they really can achieve. And so I try to be their biggest cheerleader. I try to be, positive in every single way. I'm like, I know you can do it. And I just see such a difference in those nurses who, once they become certified and take the time to prepare and take the time to study for the exam and pass the exam, and it's just their thought process and their workflow changes because they just are looking at things differently. They took that time to expose themselves to so much more information than they may not have seen because you kind of get the luck of the draw with what patients you get to take care of. And so I think that that really truly drives our quality initiatives. It drives our projects. It drives our safety initiatives. And so it's really great to see that correlation.
Whenever I've taught ENPC classes or TNCC classes, we always kind of would joke, now that we've talked about it, you're going to see it. And I feel like it's not because these things just magically appear. It's just we're more aware of it. And for me, that was studying for my CPEN is I'd taken care of children for years prior to that, but all of a sudden it was like all these light bulbs were going off as throughout this whole preparation process. And some of the ones that I worked with that I felt like knew what they were talking about, once I started getting into the materials and studying, I'm going, wait a second, that's not even the right way to do that. Or those things. And so I agree with you. I think it definitely influences quality improvement as well. I think it just makes somebody that whole journey towards certification and then even maintaining it through continuing education. I just think it makes nurses more in tune and aware of so many components of pediatric care and then that continuing education involved with it. And I think it really does impact outcomes. And so I'm glad to hear that you feel the same way and have seen that as well. And we talk about a certification champion, and Holly mentioned that previously, but how do you feel, or what do you feel embodies a certification champion? What do you feel like that means to you? And how have you really shifted that culture where you work to have more pediatric certified emergency nurses?
I mean, that's a great question. I see the value in it. And so I am all about it. I am all about how can I help you achieve this? Because, like I said before, I know that people get they think about the test and then they don't want to do it because they're so nervous about taking the test. And so I think one of those things, having a review class, talking amongst each other to say like it's the things that you do every day, and then you also get new knowledge. When we hold our review classes, it's so great to see different people say, well, I took care of a child that had this. And so they can share their personal experiences. And I think that helps them to remember better. And so it's just great to have those different formats. The question that's posted in the unit that everybody can participate in. I love to see, our techs who are nursing students who are like, I want to, try the question and see if I can get it right. Like, it's just so great to see the participation increase and just people really seeing that this is what our culture is. We're building a culture here that certification is a priority. We want to support you. We want to cheer you on. We want to watch you be successful, because ultimately you're going to be more successful in the care that you give to your patients. And that will make you feel so much better as a professional and as a nurse. I like to call myself Positive Patty when it comes to certification. If anyone says, I don't think I'm going to pass the exam, I will send you an email that's about 3 paragraphs long saying that I completely believe in you. And I know I'm going to get to hang your picture on the wall right along with everybody else. And there's no negativity around this because I know you'll be successful.
Sometimes it is about just having somebody believe that you can achieve it. There is something about having all the negative thoughts flowing through your mind that inserting a positive one, that is important. And it can help. It can help to kind of make those thoughts pause, or that voice in your head that says you're not going to succeed. Maybe it tamps it down a little bit. So I can understand why people would reach out to you. But I also think that you coming along and kind of stirring up this excitement that not only is it achievable, but we want this for you because we recognize the impact that it makes on the care that you give. Certification actually just helps you to grow in confidence in who you are and what you do. That it's not the only way you can become more confident. There are other things that you can do to help yourself grow, but it is a validated way of allowing not only yourself to feel more confident in the care that you give, but just your patients and the families that you're working with. I can't tell you the number of times working at the bedside where a patient would ask me, I know what BSN at the time means. I know what those letters mean, but like, what does CEN or CPEN mean? And I would tell them, I'm a certified pediatric nurse. I'm a certified emergency nurse. And there was a bit of pride when I said it, because like I realized like how much I had to study and what I had to go through in order to learn or earn those credentials and maintain those credentials. But then there was also this idea that patient then was like, oh, I didn't know that a nurse could do that. I didn't know that there was such a thing. And so again, it just gave them this idea. I not only went to nursing school, I also then continued to challenge myself in other ways. And I don't know, there's just I don't look at it as like bragging. I just say like, hey, this is what this is what I chose to do. This is something that I've chose to do in my professional career. And it gives you a little bit of like a boost of confidence. I feel like there's so many things in healthcare that make you feel absolutely dumb and that you don't know anything. Like there are so many things. Even today, somebody will ask me about a topic or, clinical thing, or I'm looking up something online and I'm like, gosh, I don't think I know much at all. So there's plenty of things in healthcare that make you feel unintelligent and that you don't know anything. It's nice to have something that boosts your confidence and makes you feel like, you know what? I may not know everything, but I knew a few things. So I love that you're that person who is willing to like rally excitement and put some resources together for people. And I think that type of culture in an organization, it feeds itself. Every success, every person that you put up on that wall, every certification holder that you add, like it just builds that next excitement level for the next person and the next person. And I mean, the only reason that I even thought about becoming certified is because another certified nurse was like, how come you haven't done that yet? Because no one ever talked to me about it. So again, there's so much that we could reflect back on in your answer, but also since we have you on the podcast and you are our 2026 Distinguished Award winner for pediatric emergency nursing, I'm going to ask you just to give some advice. It can be to nurses who are maybe thinking about certification, but even more so to maybe that person who is in similar shoes that you are. Maybe they're certified and they're like, I'm like a lone island all by myself on my unit. Or maybe they have moved to a new unit and they are trying to institute some type of culture of certification or begin to champion this idea. What advice would you give them to maybe help lead that or just to begin to shift the culture a little bit?
I would first tell them to be intentional. Seek out your leadership if you're not in a leadership role. And I mean, if you are, then whoever your next level is. And leaders love it when you come with an idea and you are ready to go and you are fired up about it and you are passionate about it, you will be supported. And so be intentional, seek them out, and then don't let roadblocks get in the way. So communicate. What is it that, your organization is willing to support? Testing vouchers. Amazing, right? It's such a great tool to help people feel a little bit more comfortable and take that little leap of faith, right? Because they don't feel like they are going to be losing something if they're not successful the first time around, right? Like the testing assurance is a big hit in our organization. We love those vouchers, but there are things that maybe you individually don't know what you can offer aside from maybe like a review course, or maybe you just don't know where to get started. And so like connecting with your leadership, I guarantee you will get that support because leaders are looking for people who are ready to step up, ready to carry this project out. And when you're even in the front lines and you can encourage others and the peers that you're with every day, I think that that's a big deal. That is going to be appreciated and meaningful beyond just the care that you give directly to the patients, because you're impacting processes, you're impacting patient flow, you're impacting workflow, you're impacting all of the things that make the emergency room run. And so you will get that support. And then I will go back to just being positive, because I think that Holly, like you said, I also had a certified nurse who came to me and said, you know what? I think you're going to do this. I think you're going to be successful in becoming certified. I think you should attend the next certification class review course. And so I was like, I guess maybe I could do that. And so didn't realize that was going to be the beginning of such an amazing journey, but I'm so thankful because I think that that's sometimes all it takes is somebody to believe in somebody and to be positive and somebody to encourage. So you can really impact the care that you give directly and indirectly by supporting your teammates and helping others get certified and achieve this. So I am all about being positive and being intentional. So I think that that's my advice.
Well, I think it's great advice. I appreciate you sharing that as well. And there's definitely a lot of need across the healthcare industry for positivity and intentionality. And so to see somebody that really pushes that and even just professional growth and development, I think certification has opened a lot of doors, and it's not just because somebody has a letters or set of letters behind their name, but it's often because you can see the drive and the determination that somebody has to go and do that and become a better clinician or become more knowledgeable in a certain area. And so hearing those ways that you have seen other people be impacted and that you bring those positive solutions to your department, I think is really, really important. And the word that keeps coming up is positive. I think you called yourself Positive Patty, didn't
I
you?
did.
You also have mentioned that there was no other nurses in your family. And so, we always like to ask people on the podcast if there's a certain person or a certain moment in your career that maybe changed the trajectory of your career or maybe changed who you are, maybe made you this. People that often talk about, being jaded in healthcare or being negative in healthcare, there's not as much focus put on the positivity. And so, is there a certain person that really encouraged you along the way or a certain moment that change occurred?
I think that even when I was in adult care, I took pride in the work that I did. I took pride, and I know it is easy to fall into that, like you said, Michael, getting jaded because people can be difficult to work with. But I think once I transitioned to pediatric care, it just shifted, it just further supported my want to just do the best that I could for patients and their families. And that's not to say that there weren't difficult days, but I think it just filled my cup. It was important to me to be able to do the best that I could and give everything that I had to the patients that I cared for and also my teammates. I wanted to support my teammates whichever way I could, in that moment, whatever was needed. But I also feel that once I started working at Nemours and, I had a really good friend that really just said, you're great at the bedside. So why not carry that forward? Why not become a leader and help others, mentor others to also become that way? And I think that really pushed me into getting certified, getting my MSN, like recognizing that I can still impact patients and the care that they receive, not just in the bedside role, but also in a leadership role while supporting, educating, mentoring new nurses who are coming in. And so it took me a little bit to see that, but I'm glad that I did because I see now the successes of nurses who, do education or get certified. And I see that the pride that they take in their profession. And then I see the positive outcomes that our patients have because of it. And so it's, it's so fulfilling. It really is like a great feeling to see that you not only impact the patients, you still care for them, albeit in an indirect way, but you're also impacting our future healthcare workers and our future caregivers, which is, I think, really important.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Everything that you said about the subtle hinting slash encouragement slash planting of an idea. There are times when you may not see in yourself what someone else sees in you, and then they just say, "Hey, have you ever thought about?" Or, and then you're like, "No, that was not even on my radar, but now it is." And man, this person actually might think I'd be able, like, I could do this. And I don't know, something about that begins to take root. And before you know it, you're taking those steps to be able to be successful, right? I think it's a huge part in nursing for us to be opening doors and inviting people to conversations and, making room at a table where maybe somebody doesn't feel like they necessarily should be sitting at. And you're like, no, come meet this person, come talk to them. I think that need for mentorship and development and encouragement, like you pointed out, it really does. It can absolutely change the trajectory of someone's career path and their longevity in a career. Nurses, oftentimes we get out of nursing school and we go to the bedside and like we kind of get a little bit like head down in that, right? Like we're doing the work and we're impacting patients, and like that is just, it will make you feel like I was the answer to a problem. And that's just, I mean, that's bee's knees as far as like bedside care. Like you're just like, I was the person that needed to be there that day for that person. Such a great feeling. So then when you're asked to like, hey, you wouldn't do that anymore, but you might be able to make that experience tenfold by growing other nurses to be able to do that really well. And you're like, okay, right? That's the leap. But then you get to influence, and I I will say it's not the easiest sell in the beginning, but then when you start to see that impact, then you're like, okay, I made the right decision. And I know that's what you're seeing. And I'm so excited that you took that question, that piece of advice, and now you're doing what you're doing and making such a huge impact. And a lot of people who have a lot of gratitude for your yes. Okay, I get to do a few rapid fire questions here in our podcast. And why do we do these? Just so we can get to know you a little bit better as a person. I feel like we've talked a little bit about your nursing career, your professional journey, but now these are just questions for fun. So here we go. What would you be doing if you were not in your current role? So a job, a career, something that you're like, I would have loved to try this.
Probably like a police officer or U.S. Marshal. I don't know why, but I love watching those shows and I'm like, I could totally do that. I could kick that door in.
Ooh, yes. I 100%. I feel the detective role. I want to be like going in and be like, "Look, we already know what you did. You should just confess now." I think I would be good at that across the table interrogation, and you would have to go and like get them. So, great role there. Very rarely do we have to bust down doors, although sometimes we do. But nursing can be wild, guys. But okay, well, we wanted you to stay in nursing, but I'm glad to know that you've options out there, options. Okay, we're going to talk about some of your favorites. What's your favorite book or maybe a quote that really inspires you?
My favorite book is Life in a Jar, and it is about a woman who was left by her mom, and she was raised by her aunt who didn't love her and just treated her awful. And she grew up questioning why she had to go through such a hard life as a child. And she actually ended up during the Nazi Germany, World War II, using all those life skills that she developed as a child to rescue over, I believe it's 200 children out of concentration camps. And so all those times where she was left with a couple rolls and a couple cans of beans for like 3 weeks to feed herself off of. And she learned to take care of herself. She learned to take care of others, and she learned to be brave and strong. And I just love that book because it just is a great reminder that we can do hard things. And sometimes when we don't understand why we're going through something, it's really meant to have some sort of unimaginably large impact on somebody else's life, and we can like really help and change others. So that is by far my favorite book.
Well, I have definitely written that one down because I have not read that one yet. And two, I love the message in that because I've often found that when you're going through really hard things and heavy things, it is easy to question, like, what is the purpose in this? Because it doesn't really feel like there's much purpose, just a lot of hurt, pain, sadness, all of those emotions that are usually considered ones you don't want to have for very long. But I have found, if given enough time, that it often is an avenue to connect with someone else, or maybe help someone else, or maybe speak to that in someone else's life in a way that if you've never experienced that, then it's not as relatable. Like you can be sympathetic towards it, but maybe that empathy would not be the same. And you learn a lot in those hard and heavy moments. I think you learn a lot about yourself. And then to be able to take that and pass that on to someone else as an encouragement, there is something valuable that can come out of it. It doesn't feel like that at the time, but so I enjoy reading books where you can follow the character's life and you can see like they did not see this point back in the middle of the story, but at the end, like it all kind of came together. So I love a good book recommendation. So thank you. All right. Favorite movie, TV show, or it can be a binge-worthy series because we always like to have another one to add to the list.
Definitely Sweet Home Alabama. It's old, tried and true. I can watch that over and over and over again.
I agree with you. There are certain movies that are just so comfortable. Like they're predictable in a way, they're comfortable because I'm from the South. So I like a good solid nod to the South. And some of it might be very like over the top. Some of those accents kill me. However, there are some things that I'm like, yep, people have uncles like that who are half crazy. That's probably actually pretty accurate. But yeah, I love that movie. And whenever it's on, I will watch it. So great recommendation. All right. Favorite song, musical artist, somebody that just kind of instantly moves you.
I'm really into Cody Johnson's Till You Can't, but really anything country. I'm a country girl.
So are you on like the Ella Langley train? Like, are you, or have you, I mean, you kind of have to be since they're playing her music nonstop on country radio right now.
I can listen to her. I like more of the Dierks Bentley,
Um,
Brad Paisley.
it's definitely a different vibe. I will say that I like the idea of kind of just like that true country vibe, like where you know it's country. I appreciate that. Every now and again, I'm like, am I on the wrong playlist? And then I have to go and like look and see. I'm like, oh, it's just a poppier song. But I agree with you, man. You've got some tried and true ones there for sure. Okay, well, so am I. You're doing a lot of things. School, you just finished that. You're doing all these projects. You're doing work, family. Like you've got a lot on your plate. So all that to say, we understand that self-care is important. So what do you do for self-care or something, a way that helps you reset so that way you can be your best self at the bedside?
I love to run. I love running races. I have FOMO if I don't sign up for a race. And I actually really love it because I've gotten my friends to run races with me. So, yeah, like I love to run.
Okay.
So can I ask you what kind of races? Because you have like everything from marathons to 5Ks. Like where do you fall in the race world?
I've actually done them all. So I've done everything from a 5K, 10K, 5 miler, 10 miler, half, and I have run one full marathon. I'm actually signed up to do a second one in the fall. So I've done them all.
That's awesome. Where do you go from there? Is it the triathlon kind of thing, or are you,
So there is a triathlon I do want to do. It's in Cape
how
May,
did
New
I know?
Jersey. So maybe next year. Maybe next year. That's definitely, I would also like to do an ultra marathon, which is anywhere between 30 and 50 miles. I mean, you can do more than that, but that's also kind of on my bucket list. We'll see.
Yeah,
But
Michael, when she said she liked to run, she just likes it all. Like she likes them all. She likes to run far, not as far, a little bit, a long while. She just likes it all. I mean, more power to you. I run when chased, you know what I mean? So there's that. Whatever self-care looks like to you. And I know people who run, who work out, who do like different physical activities, whether that be like rowing. I got a friend who plays a lot of basketball, whatever that might be. I think there is something to be said about putting your body in motion that has a way of just like clearing your head. If it works for you, then yeah, lean into it. So, and the fact that you can like schedule, like, hey, I'm going to do this race and I know what it's going to take. I know the lead up that it's going to take. I know how much time I have to put in. I know how many, days I'm going to have to run or yeah, I think there's also that intentionality that comes with that physical activity, like scheduling it out. So, more power to you. We will root you on. All right. I do love to ask this question too, because if anyone wanted to reach out to you following this episode, maybe they want to reach out to you about, hey, what have you done in order to get, this success and do all of the things that you're doing? What's the best platform for them to do that on?
they can reach out on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with anybody that has questions.
Amazing. Well, I will put that in the blog for this episode. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you for just being on here and talking with us today. It's really great to meet you. I know Holly got to see you in person and met you there for the award, but It's just always fun to talk to nurses that are passionate about what they do and are, very committed to improving the profession of nursing and seeing others be successful. We certainly can't just do it on our own, but to talk to nurses that are out there drawing the net larger and pulling other people in and saying, hey, you can do this, and encouraging them and being the positive Patty and all of the things that you're doing. It's just really great to have the opportunity to chat with you today. So thank you for taking the time with us today, Solomaya.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. You guys are awesome.
Oh, we think pretty highly of you as well. So I want to take this time to thank Solomiya for joining us for this episode. Solomiya, thank you for sharing your journey from your transition into pediatric emergency care to your leadership now in trauma research and quality, and for highlighting how certification can directly influence patient outcomes and organizational culture. Your insights as a certification champion and your reflections on earning the 2026 Distinguished CPEN Award offer meaningful guidance to nurses looking to lead and make a lasting impact, just like you. That's a wrap for this episode of BCEN and Friends. Don't miss what's next. You can subscribe, share, and join the conversation by scanning the QR code for Learn updates in this episode blog. Got a topic you'd like us to cover? Drop us a line at bcn@bcn.org. I'm Holly Briggs with Michael Dexter, and we're proud to celebrate your dedication to nursing across the emergency spectrum. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected. We are out.